Not the way I was hoping that one was going to go. Jets lose. LA Chargers. Multiple scores. We react to that live at 1:30 in the morning on a Tuesday to Monday Night Football. Let's roll it.
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field Gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor Gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
That was a cup of suck. No other way to put it. The Jets lose 27-6 to the LA Chargers on Monday Night Football. It's a tale of interpretation on two things. The Chargers rise up to 4-4 with the win against the Jets. The Jets fall to 4-4. For a brief moment in time, the Jets held second place in the AFC East by virtue of winning percentage on Sunday. But as we mentioned on the show this morning, technically yesterday morning, it didn't mean crap if the Jets didn't handle their business. And boy, did they not. The New York Jets, historically inept. We wrote an article about it already on the Nathaniel Hackett offense. It's up on heavy.com. Feel free to check it out. Jets offense, historically poor. The worst third down offense in over 45 years of NFL football. 23% conversion rate heading into this game on third downs, just barely below the 2005 San Francisco 49ers, who were at 24%. Historically inept. And now it's time for change. Now, Robert Saleh, after the game, was blunt, saying no, he will not be considering an offensive play caller change. And the Jets are in a pickle. Here's the problem for the New York Jets. You have Nathaniel Hackett, who obviously has a close relationship with Aaron Rodgers. You can't fire the guy because, again, that's a big reason Aaron Rodgers came here in the first place. So, number one, you can't do that. You can't change play callers. Again, the relationship pre-existing with Aaron Rodgers, so you're stuck there. A quarterback change? Zach Wilson obviously played poorly. Where do you go? Trevor Siemian? Tim Boyle? Oh boy. Like, I don't know what needs to change. All I know is change needs to happen for the Jets. 8 offensive touchdowns in 8 games is the third lowest in franchise history. Only 2 teams have had less or fewer. That was the 2020 New York Jets and a team in the 70s. Each had 7 offensive touchdowns through 8 games. This is negligence and ineptitude. And I'm going to be honest, I feel bad for the defense, man. I feel bad for the defense. They put up a performance like this. Here are the numbers from the Jets defense. Justin Herbert held to 136 yards passing. That's the lowest total of the season. 4.5 yards per clip. They sacked him 5 times. Austin Eckler, 14 carries, 47 yards, 3.4 clip. 2 touchdowns, of course. Gift wrapped, a couple of fumbles. Jets had 3 fumbles in this game. They were gift wrapped there. Keenan Allen, relatively speaking, contained. 8 catches on 9 targets, 77 yards. Had the crazy circus catch on the right hash. I don't know how he caught that football. Spectacular. And the Jets contain the Chargers offense, the explosive, crazy Chargers offense. And it didn't matter. I feel so bad for the defense, man. They put in that kind of effort. They deliver. Doesn't mean crap. Unfortunate. So we're going to get into all of it here. Again, my name is Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We come 2 hours after every final whistle here for the postgame show. And I'm going to be honest. The only good thing that happened to me late tonight, early this morning, was making sweet, passionate love to my fiance, which I did after the article was written and that kind of stuff. That's the only good thing that happened. Not great. Terrible. By the way, everybody, the video link to join today's show, it is pinned, the pinned comment on YouTube. If you'd like to click to vent, react in any way, as long as you are in a relatively quiet place and have the camera on, we could bring you on the show. And this show is brought to you by, right here, Custom Laser Engraving, who sponsors our show, and they sponsor that video line that you guys can click to join the show. If you can think it, he can make it. That is Cam 631 Laser. He can make coins, knives, business cards, pens, license plate frames, car and motorcycle parts, keychain, bottle openers, and more. He can do custom laser engraving for all of that, baby. Cam at 631laser.com. You could call him as well, 631-31-LASER. And we immediately get this. Just hear me out with the TMI, laughing, crawling emojis. There you are. Yeah. So that's the only good thing that happened to me, quite frankly, which, I'm not sure if any of you guys can bask in that or not, but nonetheless, here we are. Boy, the Jets with a win would have been a half a game out of first place. Everything was in front of the New York Jets. The only thing they had to do was to beat the Chargers. And I'm going to be honest, the Chargers obviously won the game, and credit to them. They beat the Jets 27-6. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 21 points. But they really didn't do anything crazy that impressed you beyond the punt return touchdown, which, again, of course, the special teams was heralded and gotten so much love throughout the week, and they have that play. They've been mostly good this year, of course, so you have to take that as you can. But you have the punt return touchdown. You have the 3 fumbles. Really, the Chargers didn't do anything. And yet they won the game by multiple scores, which, again, is even more frustrating. Man, so much bad. Zach Wilson was terrible. The offensive line was terrible. The play calling was terrible. And Alan Lazard on the drops, man. The drops, the penalties. We spent $44 million on Alan Lazard. Just disgusting. The Jets have a couple of good plays, and he has penalties that call him back. Anytime the Jets had momentum in this game, it gets yanked back by a penalty. And this Jets offense apparently is so inept that if any level of turbulence, we'll use that word for the flight, any level of turbulence for the New York Jets, and they can't overcome it. A penalty. They had this 20-yard gain with Breece Hall. Up, penalty, bring it back, and then they implode. Pre-snap penalties, had 8 penalties for over 40 yards, 3 turnovers. Those 3 fumbles don't help. The offensive line was a mess. Bosa and Mack lived in the backfield. Zach Wilson held the ball too long. That also didn't help. Garrett Wilson is Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall really couldn't get going in this game. He finished with, 16 carries, 50 yards. Got a couple of pops, but nothing crazy. Garrett Wilson, 7 catches, 80 yards, 13 targets. Some of this other offensive production was kind of padded at the end of the game. So 263 yards on the surface doesn't sound bad for Zach, but he was sacked 8 times. I thought that the Jets would get better. I thought that it couldn't get worse, basically, was the rationale for myself, for the offense. But it's clear it's not getting better. But what do you change? That's where I'm struggling with at this point. Do you change the lineup? Do you have a players-only meeting? What do? You got to do something, because now you have this. So you're at 4-4. Okay, you're at 4-4. You have this Las Vegas Raiders game coming up, Sunday Night Football. A team that you thought was winnable, and I'm not saying it's not after this Chargers game, but man, if the Jets offense doesn't play better, then they can't beat anyone. They can't beat our JV high school team. The defense is spectacular. The special teams more times than not has played phenomenally. But I don't know. You got to do something. I am left scrambling for answers, and I hope that's the message in this Jets building. Well, hopefully they find answers, but me reacting, I am scrambling for answers for this New York Jets team. And here's the thing. So Zach Wilson played poorly, obviously. Here are all the numbers. Again, he got sacked 8 times, 5.4 clip, terrible, 17.9 QBR. He was, again, god-awful. You can't say that enough about Zach. So he's bad. And to make bad worse, when a guy's bad, you need the rest of the team to pick him up. Like, okay, he's not playing well, but if I can, like, think about this. Keenan Allen, right? There was a crappy throw from Justin Herbert, but he makes the spectacular catch, and it didn't matter that it was a crappy throw, and he saves his quarterback. No Jet player outside of Garrett Wilson, normally on a week-to-week basis, quote-unquote, saved the quarterback. Lazard drops. The offensive line bad. So play calling bad. Like, no one's picking this young man up. He's not performing well. He stinks. He's the quarterback that's supposed to be putting up points for the team. That's his job. That's his job responsibility. So he's bad. But on top of the bad, no one else is helping him. They're having these critical drops. Think about like some of these plays and how the sequence goes. Lazard has this key drop on 2nd and 10. Would have made it about 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. Instead, it's 3rd and 10, and then Zach Wilson eats a massive sack, and then 3 points off the board for the Jets. Changes the field, changes momentum. It's just, that's the part for me that's really hard to wrap my brain around, because those kinds of positive momentum things are not happening. They're happening in a negative way. Another YouTube super chat coming in here from Just Hear Me Out. $200 money line for Jets over Raiders. Going to wait for the line to juice up more, though, which, by the way, you can get. I don't know what that let me check, see if that's available yet. Let's see what that is for the New York Jets Raiders game on Sunday Night Football. Let me see. According to ESPN, I do not see a line yet for that game. I'm sure that'll come in a little bit. The ESPN analytics favor the Jets pretty heavily, but we'll see if that's indeed the case. Jets 4-4, Raiders 4-5. Raiders will be playing at home for that game. We'll see how that line changes, but you know, a lot of money I imagine is going to go towards the Raiders. Their positivity, their first game with Antonio Pierce, they blow out the Giants. So I imagine at home there's going to be a lot of good vibes, smoking cigars in that locker room coming from that one. So I'm sure you guys could get better money on that if you wait a little bit on the week. Boy, yeah, the Garrett Wilson fumble's a killer. If you think about all the fumbles, too, they were either in Chargers territory, right on the precipice at the 50-yard line. Garrett Wilson's fumble, you can't have. Zach Wilson fumble, totally on him. Held the ball too long, blows up, boop, pops it right out, fumble. And then the other fumble, obviously, that was also his fault, but the game was probably over. But still, you fumble right there, too, and then they grab it right by the end zone and add more points on the board there. So, disgusting. Absolutely gross. Yeah, by the way, in case you guys missed it, Aaron Rodgers after the game. So he has this interaction. It's kind of going viral on social media. So Derwin James, the Charger safety, asks Aaron Rodgers, hey, when you coming back? They're meeting up at midfield and there's a camera on him. And Aaron Rodgers said, give me a couple weeks, which Derwin James was like, oh, okay. So regardless, though, so obviously an Aaron Rodgers offense would be better for the Jets. Oh, it says someone came in here and said the Jets are a 2.5-point favorite. We'll see how that line shifts throughout the week, but interesting opening line. Thank you for that, my friend. But, an Aaron Rodgers offense would be better. Of course it would, because he's Aaron freaking Rodgers. But if the rest of the stuff doesn't fix itself, Billy Turner was awful at right tackle, and Robert Saleh said Billy Turner is more comfortable at right tackle, so they put Max Mitchell at right guard. Tippmann was back tonight, thank God. So Tippmann's there. Lakey got blown up on a play, and then you have Mekhi Becton. But the right side of that offensive line, particularly at right tackle, Billy Turner was a turnstile. He was getting smacked around like nobody's business. You need another answer at right tackle. Billy Turner, god-awful. I don't know if I'd put Max Mitchell out at right tackle and then make Xavier Newman your right guard or something. You need something else. Billy Turner is awful. Terrible. So awful, in fact, that you can't even do anything offensively. Yeah, DeAndre Vega says the last drive made me sick. Zach Wilson throws it right to CJ Uzomah, right between the numbers, and he drops it. It was just poetic more than anything else. Like, wow. Because I wrote it in my story, but right, we play this American game of football, and the shape of the ball is oblong. And sometimes it bounces your way, and sometimes it doesn't. And it just didn't feel like the Jets' night right from the get-go. Ugh. God, yeah, that one was bad. CJ Uzomah right off the chest. Then some, Michael, whoever had the Michael Carter, over under on receptions at the end where he just got dumped. How many was that? I'm curious. What was that on Michael Carter? He finishes with 6 catches for 24 yards, which is hilarious. All of that coming at the end with dump. Phenomenal. Yeah. So again, some of the offensive numbers are padded at the end, but the offense is terrible. It's broken. I don't know if it was ever fixed, but it's broken. And you also look at some of these touchdowns, right? So all these one play breakoffs where you either have the Brees Hall touchdown against the Eagles, which people say the Eagles let him in, whatever the case. A couple of these broken, busted plays, Brees Hall long touchdown, Garrett Wilson long touchdown, like some of these ones that just are breakaways. So it's no offense like driving down the field or doing anything from that perspective, but it's just those plays breaking out. Like Hackett is awful right now. Zach Wilson is awful. The guys are not helping them on a consistent basis. Even your best player, Garrett, fumbles the ball. Lazard dropping the ball all over the place. I liked a little bit of Xavier Gibson in the passing game. He had a couple of tough catches. That was nice to see. I didn't like Jason Brownlee being inactive. I would have loved to see him get some ops. They decided not to go in that direction, instead giving some reps to Malik Taylor. But I'd love to see it because here's the thing. The Jets offense is so poor right now. It's so poor that at this point, I think you have to do anything to see what can mix it up. Like I said, I've floated a few things out there. Could it be a quarterback change? You're not changing play callers, obviously, based on the commentary that we got. Lineup changes. They tried to do a little bit more fast pace, but like something. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Jet sweeps. Something, a different philosophy, more Brees Hall. It looked like they got a little pass happy at the beginning of the game. Maybe they looked at the numbers too intently. I thought that passing would have been nice. And what I mean by that is the Chargers' 32nd ranked pass defense, their scoring defense in the bottom of the league, DVOA numbers in the bottom half of the league. I thought that was the way to go, but getting away from Brees Hall a little too much. They tried to get him a little bit in space with some of these quick swing routes, but it didn't seem to be working. Ah, boy. Just that's a tough pill to swallow. Reminder, everybody, that again, if you go to the pinned comment on YouTube, that is the, again, Cam631 Laser Hotline. He supports the show. There you go. Custom laser engraving, sponsoring Boy Green. There's all the info. That is the video link to click and join the show. Again, we're here at 1:47 in the morning. If you'd like to vent, react, whatever you'd like, that is the pinned comment on YouTube. So feel free to hop on the show and feel free to do that. We'll go through a couple more notes and quotes here and look ahead a little bit. We'll also be back on live in about 4 or 5 hours. I'll get a quick nap. And then 4 or 5 hours, we'll be back on for Boy Green Daily tomorrow morning. Technically this morning with Talking Jets with Tigo. He'll be joining us here in a couple of hours. And we have a slammed guest list. Antoine Staley joining us this week. Mo Moten when we get into the Raiders stuff. Jake Brown, of course, of the New York Post. So we've got a lot of wonderful guests joining us later this week. But you can be our guest. Feel free to do it again. Thanks to Custom Laser Engraving by Cam for more information. We'll actually be giving out a couple of those packages this week as well. And some of you that have already won will be sending out those packages this week. So looking forward to that. I had so much hope for this Chargers game. I was so fired up. And I know a lot of Jet fans feel this way. So fired up. And then for them to blow this opportunity really just sucks. It's a punch in the balls, punch in the junk. That's what it feels like for this game. Just no offensive continuity. The defense fires. Man, they look so good. A couple of slip-ups, but you can't really nitpick the defense at all. They just play it out of their minds. Jermaine Johnson looked really good. Bryce Huff looked good. Even Sauce had some plays. You just checked off a lot of boxes, and it's a blown opportunity. The season isn't over. You're 4-4. I'm sure it feels over for a lot of people. It's not over. There's plenty of time left, plenty of season left. But the offense is in such dire straits that it's hard to see clearly beyond the rainbow. Now, again, the Jets shutting down some of the game's best quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, all of these cats is encouraging. And then, of course, you got Aiden O'Connell this week, and I know he looked good against the Giants, but I feel pretty good about the Jets against Aiden O'Connell, as should the Jets for that matter. But again, that's it, which Rob V, which we mentioned earlier, the worst third down offense in 45 years of football. How can you possibly trot out the same thing next week? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Again, what changes? No clue. Hopefully I have an answer in a couple hours because that's the theme of our Talking Jets with Tigo, Boy Green Daily tomorrow morning. or this morning, rather, in a couple hours, is what do you change? Is it a quarterback change? Is it a lineup change? Is it a philosophy change? Is it a players only meeting? What do you do to rally the troops? Because this isn't good enough. You're hearing the players after the game, Garrett Wilson speaking, Breece Hall speaking about the ridiculousness of the results. This is a results-oriented business, and the Jets are not delivering. And they're ruining it for this team, for this defense, for this special teams unit. And the only way Aaron Rodgers comes back, by the way, is if the Jets are in it, and they blew a chance tonight in what could be a pivotal game for wild card and all that kind of stuff, but particularly for the division, which we talked about as well. Put them behind the 8 ball. You have to bounce back against this Raiders team. Another imminently winnable game, but it's only winnable if you handle your business. A judo chop to the Nuggets. Certainly feels that way. Yeah. Green and White says, hot garbage, Paul. Unbelievable. Alan Lazard, how is he always open and always drops the ball? Yeah, it's just, man. So Zach Wilson missed a couple of easy ones where you could have taken 4 or 5 yard chunks. You missed Garrett Wilson on that one Troy Aikman was talking about where he could have possibly gone to the house, perhaps. But it's just the missing of some of the mundane plays, which is frustrating. Again, it's the simple stuff that all stacks up. You don't think much of 1 or 2 individual plays, but it all adds up. Zach Wilson missing a 4 or 5 yarder turns a potential 3rd and manageable, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 into 3rd and long, and then Bosa and Mack pin their ears back and come after you. Lazard having the drops that he has, the penalties. He is hurting this team. I don't know what you do with Lazard. You owe him $44 million. That's the total of the contract. It's really, I believe, only $22 million of that is guaranteed, but frustrating as hell. Frustrating as hell that you have that kind of free agent miss. Now, how many of us miss Corey Davis, huh? There you go. Punt kick to the Gonies. There you are. Yeah. The answer is salt to the eyes like Mr. Fuji. Yeah, something. We are in a bad place. Roger Saffold next week. Hey, that could be an option. We'll see. He came off the couch. Justin Pugh did it, and he got into the game. Saffold may be an option there as well, potentially. He has guard and tackle experience. We'll see where he goes from that perspective. But that could be a lineup change. Exactly. But Billy Turner has to be off the field. I think that's my big one. I know I saw that Aaron Rodgers shaking his head on the sidelines after a blown thing. I didn't have my camera ready because I'm just watching the game. And then I see, I'm like, ooh, I wish I would have grabbed that because, yeah, he was all of us there. I will not be in Vegas. I'm actually not scheduled to go to any more Jets games this year. I think the only one I was at was week 2 at Dallas. We'll see. Hopefully I get up to a game. These primetime ones seem like a lot of fun. Not tonight in particular, but the Jets had performed very well in primetime affairs prior to this game. I will not be in Vegas. I know Jake Asman's doing Circa and all that jazz. I will not be at that one. We'll see if I could go to a game later this season. Not currently on the schedule, but that would be a lot of fun because, I love going to the games. It's amazing. So we'll see if that's the case. But thank you for asking, Vern. In the future, maybe we'll get like a Boy Green special or something. See if a bunch of the fans want to meet up and do something for a game. We will see that in the future. Yeah, see, that's where I'm at, as we have another comment in here. Zach didn't help himself, but I just can't see another quarterback doing much better. Yeah, because here's the thing. Here's the honest truth. We're having an uncomfortable conversation here at near 2 a.m. Here's the uncomfortable conversation. Zach didn't help himself. That's a good way to put it. There were throws he missed. But I think the thing is he's much more mobile than either Trevor Siemian or Tim Boyle. So when sometimes the pocket collapses due to pressure and bad offensive line play, he gives you at least a fighting chance to escape sack. Remember, he escaped that one against Khalil Mack. He missed the throw to C.J. Uzomah right there, but he rolls out and does the crazy and then dumps it off to Uzomah. Tim Boyle or Trevor Siemian ain't doing that. So that's one thing. Number 2, Tim Boyle, historically speaking, has sucked in every opportunity he's ever had. Trevor Siemian is a veteran by the sake of a veteran, but he was unemployed after losing the competition, the backup quarterback competition with the Cincinnati Bengals. Some people just say, well, it has to be better. Maybe. I don't know. I just want to see change because, again, insanity is continuing to do the same crap and saying, oh, maybe it'll change this week, which is what I was hoping for. Like, it can't get worse. It can't get worse, and it did. But I think you're probably right here, Tacone. that what quarterback is going to do better, but I just need some sort of change. Again, Zach Wilson had some plays today, but just too much bad. Too much bad. Missing guys, holding the ball too long, but obviously he's not being helped out by his weapons or his offensive line or anything. Ugh, just terrible. Let's see. Chrono Kenny. I wonder if JD knew Corey Davis was retiring, if Lazard ever would have signed. I doubt we would have tolerated him as a number 2. Yeah, obviously, Corey Davis said he had been contemplating it a while. Again, we still don't know the full details of that, but he said he was contemplating it a while. I don't think he let the Jets know, but I can't say that with 100% certainty. But I don't think, because Corey Davis, I think he started to disappear somewhere in the middle of training camp. This Lazard thing happened in March. I don't think, I think it was just have as many pieces as possible, and if injuries happen, you're covered. So, and Hackett really wanted him too. So I don't know. I don't know if I can connect those dots, but it's frustrating because you lose Davis and then you have Lazard who's struggling. Again, here's the thing. He's made a couple of clutch plays this year. He's a good leader. He's been around the block. He's supposed to be a very good blocking receiver, but at a certain point, there's got to be some level of accountability for this poor level of play. And so far, it's been wildly disappointing for Allen Lazard. How do you practice every day and get worse? Good question. Wish I had an answer for you, green and white militia. Lazard is among the top guys in drops. Yeah, he had a 19% drop rate heading into this game, and more drops didn't help. That's interesting. Chrono Kenny says, Rodgers probably the reason we didn't trade for a quarterback. He, for some reason, loves Zach. He does. And, man, when you see a Joshua Dobbs, for instance, who gets traded for a 6th-round pick, an inconsequential late pick, and he gets no practice reps with the Vikings and immediately steps in and wins them a game and scores points, how can you not just pull your hair out and go, what in God's green earth is friggin' happening here? So he would have been a nice add. I really like Dobbs, the person. I've followed his career a bit. But, yeah, that would have been a move I'd be willing to have thrown a 6th-round pick at. That's for sure. Yeah, because that's the thing. The other quarterback options are underwhelming, but Dobbs would have been fun. He would have been fun. Oh, games might only be $5. Yeah, maybe that'll get me there. Zach has sucked. We need a spark. That's really my main point, is that we need a spark. And that can come in a lot of ways. That could come from rallying the troops and having one of those kind of meetings. It can come from lineup changes. It can come from quarterback change. It could come from all kinds of things. All kinds of things can make a spark. I'm not discriminating. Any way we could get a spark, I am open to listening to that part of the conversation. Oh, boy. Man. And just think, who knows when this will happen again with the division. The Dolphins lose, the Bills lose, the Patriots lose. They're irrelevant, but you have the Dolphins, Bills lose in the same weekend, and you play a non-impossible opponent. It's not like the Jets played the Eagles again. They played the Chargers, who came in as a sub-500 team, and you couldn't get it done. At home, they flew West Coast, East Coast, everything lined up. I love the matchup. A lot of things lined up in the Jets' favor, and it didn't matter. Yeah. Let's see. Now, Barney with a few suggestions. Bench Uzama, Lazard, and Cook. Give Brownlee and Izzy a shot. More Ruckert. Change your freaking playbook. More rollouts. More no-huddle. Yeah, I agree on a lot of these fronts here, Barney. Yeah, Uzama, unbelievable. So much usage that I don't understand. He drops the touchdown. It was garbage time, but drops that. Lazard has looked really bad. Penalties drops. Cook, again, I think there's a wild level of inconsistency here. I don't know if he's washed necessarily. I don't know if I could go to that realm, but just how he's being used, it's just not working there either. Brownlee, I'd love to see get a chance. Of course, Izzy as well. Switch Ruckert and Uzama, that'd be nice. But getting Zach Wilson on the move more, like we saw with LaFleur a couple of times, where you could roll him out and then you cut the field in half, you cut your reads down. it just seems to make a lot of sense to utilize his legs because that's something Aaron Rodgers doesn't have. Now, Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback in every possible measure than Zach Wilson, but the thing Zach has is he's young. He's got legs. Use them. Roll them out the pocket. Cut down the reads and do those sorts of things. Again, the great news is it's a good news, bad news scenario. On one hand, Zach Wilson has what is the new number? Let me see. The new number for Zach Wilson is, let's see, at 49. Wow. So 49, 170. That's 9, 4, 7. It's 3, 1, 2, 4, 11. So that's what? 219 attempts. So here's the number for Zach Wilson. Just did the quick math. He's had 219 attempts. Passing attempts with only one pick. That's a phenomenal stretch and one of the best stretches of his career. So on one hand, you have that nugget I just came up with. 219 passing attempts with only one interception for Zach Wilson in the last, whatever it is, 5 or 6 games. Phenomenal. But again, when you pair that with the lack of offensive production, some people would rather risk it to get the biscuit, do a bit more challenges down the field, and maybe that increases the volatility of turnovers, but also increases the likelihood of scoring. So that's going to be a fine line for Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh, for what it's worth, denied that. Zach Wilson said, if there are things he's not seeing on tape, of course he'll take it, but he doesn't believe he's being too cautious. Saleh, in the same sense, said he doesn't see that as an issue, but 219 passing attempts, which is good on the surface, and I'm sure is a nugget that'll be tweeted out this week in relation to that, but it just, the production in a results-oriented business has been tough to stomach. Again, everybody, feel free to join. I know the vibes are a little low right now, but I'm sure we could get fired back up here at 2 in the morning on Tuesday, November 7th. But the pinned comment on YouTube, if you just are watching on our YouTube channel, you can click and join the show. Feel free to do that. Also, the YouTube Super Chat feature is also available if you'd like to support the program. I'll try to get to as many comments as possible, whether Super Chat or not, but Super Chat guarantees you skip the queue. Lazard can only catch Rodgers passes. Maybe that's it. Colt McCoy healthy yet? I heard that was a reason why he remained a free agent, so TBD on that. We'll see. You also, whatever quarterback you'd bring in, you'd have to let him learn the offense. Let's see. Ruckert looks like a bust. Yeah, he had a couple of penalties, which is bad. Again, those self-inflicted wounds. The Garrett Wilson block in the back was super unnecessary. Like, do the Olay block. They teach you that. Yeah. Yeah, there may be some frustration penalties there. Yes, that's Sergeant Mike says the usage of no huddle is promising. At least it shows Hackett made some changes. That's what Zach Wilson said after the game, too, that they noticed that their best offense had come in those hyped up, fast-paced situations, and that's what they said the plan was to kind of get the Chargers on their heels. Saleh and Wilson confirmed that. It didn't result in anything in terms of points, but that was the plan. So, hopefully that helps a little bit. Barney, you can't step up in the pocket when there's no pocket to step up into. Move Zach around. If you're going to keep this offense just vanilla, then put Aaron out there. Yeah, that'd be nice. Apparently he's coming in a couple weeks. So let's see. What other questions do we have in here? Zach is scared to make mistakes. That could be. Again, he has denied that, but that very well could be the issue here for the New York Jets. Just, there's a lot of issues with this team right now, but they're not a lost cause. This defense is spectacular. Just Bryce Huff had a sack and a half in this game. I'm going through all the numbers. Quentin Jefferson, he's been such a pleasant surprise. JFM with a sack. Johnson and Solomon Thomas each have half a sack. I mean, it is just really phenomenal. Now, here's the part I guess that we could say missed. The Jets had a couple of turnover opportunities. Jordan Whitehead had a pick. Wasn't able to come up with it. Michael Clemens doesn't pick up the fumble, or excuse me, he tries to scoop and score the fumble. If he just dives on the ball, that's a fumble recovery for the New York Jets. There was another fumble. It was either the running back or receiver on the left sideline. it corrals, goes back to him. It's just the Jets were right there on the precipice, which maybe sparks things and bails somebody out, but it didn't. So it's hard to get that. And yes, what about that? The Jets get a roughing the passer call. By the way, Troy Aikman. So Zach Wilson gets lit up well after the play, and Troy Aikman says, I don't know if that was roughing the passer. And then we see the replay. I'm like, what are you talking about, Troy Aikman? He had a couple of weird comments during the game. It was just very bizarre, very strange. It was clearly roughing the passer, and thank God the streak and everything is broken. They had not gotten a call in like 2 or 3 years for roughing the passer. About damn time. Excuse me, about damn time. That was finally. God bless America. That was nice. Do I think they at least suit up Trevor next week? Well, here's the thing. Salah's been pretty adamant. Again, this could be a change coming. That Tim Boyle is QB2. So unless that changes, maybe Simeon could be emergency QB3. But like according to Salah, again, there could be a change when he speaks tomorrow. But I would imagine not, probably, unless he is ascended above Boyle, which we're not aware of. So I would say probably not at this point. But again, when you have this kind of whatever you want to call it from an offensive perspective, you have no choice but to make changes and to call audibles, quote unquote, at the line of scrimmage here and make some sort of change to create spark. So we'll see on Trevor Simeon, but I would imagine not based on the commentary that we know right now at this point. Maybe Boyle gets a shot, but I'm going to be honest. When we were earlier in the season with struggles, Saleh almost laughed off the question when asked, hey, you going to give Tim Boyle any ops to kind of warm up here and get ready or get some ops, QB1 reps in practice? And Saleh scoffed at the question, like, no way, zero chance. And I was like, He didn't really say that. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he kind of eye-rolled at the question like, yeah, fat chance. So, like, if you don't believe in Boyle, and I don't know how you believe in Simeon because right now he's QB3, then what's going to happen here? I think that's certainly a point of frustration from that. But ultimately, to kind of boil it back down, because we've kind of gone in a lot of areas tonight, / this morning, the Jets are in a tough place because you can't touch Hackett because he has a connection to Rodgers. And if you mess with that, there's a chance Rodgers gets upset. Rodgers also really likes Zach Wilson. So, like, how all of that is kind of put together makes this complicated because in a normal scenario, if things aren't working, change is proceeded, whether that's coaching, quarterback, other lineup changes, things of that nature. The Jets don't have that full autonomy to make those kind of choices based on the connective tissue that exists around Rodgers and others. But I will be curious to see if Saleh is willing to make some of those changes and what the answer is for a level of accountability. He owes it to his defense. He owes it to his special teams. He owes it to the fans to challenge and say, okay, this offense isn't good. What's the solution? He needs to get in a room with Hackett and say, man, it is historically poor. Again, the Jets have the worst third down conversion offense in 45 years of football. The worst. Last. That, to me, if I was Saleh, I'd be going to a room with Hackett. What are the answers to this, man? This can't just be, well, Aaron Rodgers isn't here. In 45 years of football, a lot of teams didn't have Aaron Rodgers, and they weren't last in third down conversion rate. So I need answers. The fans deserve answers, and right now we don't have any. Right now we don't have any from that perspective, which is incredibly, incredibly frustrating for this team. You know, I really, really normally enjoy these live shows and get to chat with you guys, whether win or loss, and really go through the process. But I am pretty defeated after this game, man. I'm sure in a couple hours with a power nap, I'll be reignited and hopefully looking ahead to the Raiders and getting some of those things. But right now, I am just probably the most downtrodden I've been. That I've been in a while, just because it's so deflating. I had been, kind of keeping at bay the stiff arm of the poor offensive performances from the Jets because I thought it would get better. I was drinking the Kool-Aid, so I said they're close. Zach Wilson, we're close. And I got false hope from some of the one-play touchdowns of Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. It gives you that false sense of, oh, they are right there to turn it around, and they haven't been. And it's just, I need change. I need drastic changes to find the solution, find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because there is a chance this can implode. If this offense continues to be this inept, how could the defense and special teams not implode on itself and fracture a locker room and say, you know what, this offense is so bad that our contributions are being mitigated and marginalized from those results. That's something that's got to be figured out. Again, everybody, I want to thank you guys for joining us here on the live show. Appreciate it. Again, we'll be back in a couple hours for Boyd Green Daily. And once again, sponsored by Custom Laser Engraving by Cam. There are all the details. Feel free. He's a fellow Jets fan that supports the show. He's been a big fan of the show for a long time. He's a big-time Jets fan. And we got the holidays coming up. So, guys, if you support him, that helps support the show, and let him know that you heard about his custom laser engraving through me, and that'll help support the show. So we appreciate it. Tough loss by the Jets. Again, they lose 27-6. Brutal, ugly. You wait all day for Monday Night Football, and this happens. We will be back in less than 5 hours. We've got Talking Jets with Tigo. We'll do some final notes and quotes in this Chargers game. Maybe we'll have some more updates and other thoughts that'll be coming up later this morning with Talking Jets with Tigo. Again, that'll come at 7:30 in the morning. That is 5 hours and change from right now. So, guys, we will see you tomorrow morning. Take care. Thanks for joining us, and God bless.